Good afternoon, everyone. Let me know if I am audible, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. For next week, I think timetable is changed a bit. So we'll have four classes instead of three. So I'll probably send you the details and you get to know from class teacher. Any questions from last classes so far? Today we'll look at file transfer protocol. Now this protocol was very much in use in early stages of internet. I used to use it quite often, heavily, till the browser-based download started. So with 2000 onwards, FTP went on a decline. In fact, FTP was such a popular and useful thing. There was a company formed with the name of FTP Incorporation itself. And their only product was selling FTP software which people can use and download and transfer files. So it was that popular, but now it has lost its relevance and we would use upon the browser HTTP protocol to down. But nonetheless, it's good to know how things gonna happen, how does the protocol works as part of the course. Course has minimal content, even book has about, I think not more than 4 pages. Very minimal one. But let's look at what the protocol is and get into those details. Again, decent material is from the book, but I think 75% slides are added on my own. So as acknowledgement, I display this slide. So what really is a file transfer protocol requires? You often seen that, let's say you have a document on a laptop, you want to transfer the document to another laptop. What you do most of the time is take a pen drive, copy, and then transfer to other laptop. Now you may be running Ubuntu, other guys may be running Windows or Mac and still use a pen drive and transfer locally. What if the two guys are away, not in close proximity, or you don't have a pen drive, or to download something? So how do you transfer file from one system to another? If you look at networking application, the core of networking is to communicate between two applications and basically transfer data or transfer files. And in that sense, FTP very much fits the bill. So in FTP, you have a client running on a system, and then you have a server, and client will talk to the server and either upload a file or download a file. Now client need to give a user interface. This could be a command line interface, or this could be even a UI interface, or you can say even web-based interface. And with this interface, you basically connect. So FTP client has two parts. One is the user interface, which enables user to interact with it, and then a client software which will actually connect to FTP server and do as required by the user. So what it gives you is either you can upload a file to the server or download file from the server. Of course, if you are uploading it, you need to have a proper write permission. If you don't have a write permission, you cannot upload it. But if reading it, if files FTP server doesn't require any authentication, then it is called anonymous and you can download without authentication. But most of the time, they would like you to identify the user and they would like to verify you. So you normally give username, password, authenticate yourself, and then download the file. Because you have a client that connects to the server, that's why it is called a client server model. And client server model, server is always up and running. Client is the one that initiates connection. And once it initiates the connection, then it does what user wants, either receive a file or upload a file. As a standard FTP, you can look at RFC, request for comment. It gives you the details, all the commands, the way the protocol works. So you can recommend RFC 959 that talks about protocol. We have said in client server model that servers should be always up and running, and servers should be running on a well-known address. This should be known. So FTP server always runs on port 21. Like HTTP protocol, HTTP server runs on port 80 or 443. FTP runs on port 21 for connection to work. There's a one more port 20 which is used for data, and I'll come to that in a short while. So why do we really need FTP protocol per se? Let's say you have OS2 machine and the encoding happens to be AppDict system, and you have a Ubuntu machine where things are stored, and if you just do a pen drive, it may not even work. On Ubuntu and Windows, we maintain file encoding as ASCII. Other machines may be using some other encoding AppDict. On Windows system, you have a directory structure, backslash directory1, backslash directory2 and something. On Linux, you have a forward slash directory structure. For a text file, Windows keep carriage return and line feed as a separator, whereas in Linux you only keep line feed and new line as a separator. When you transfer file from one to the other, it has to take care of how the two systems represent and store the data. And when you're transferring data, protocols would automatically convert the given file into appropriate data. For the textual data, so we're transferring from Windows to, let's say, Ubuntu and Linux in a text mode, then automatically CRLF or line feed carriage return should be converted to plain line feed and vice versa. Whereas binary data or images should undergo no change. So to looking at those aspects, that different systems have different file naming conventions. Initially Windows, there was no space available. It was only 8-character file names. Space came in much later. Then you have backslash versus forward slash, and then the representation type. So as a user, if you have to take care of everything, it becomes too much work, and protocol can handle it. Life becomes easier, and that is what the FTP protocol does. So the way FTP protocol works, as a client, it first connects to the server on port number 21. So client to the server listens on port 21, and client connects to it on port 21. Like HTTP runs on underlying TCP protocol, FTP also runs on top of TCP protocol, and underlying protocol is TCP. So once a TCP connection is set up, typically client would authenticate giving username and password, and only when authentication is successful, server would say yes, now we can do a transfer. If you are authorized to an upload, you can upload. You have a write permission onto directories, then you can upload. Or if you don't have write permission, only read permission, then you can only download. So you should try installing it. There's an open source version available called WSFTP. The server you can look at, and as a client, you can use FileZilla, which I'll try to show you. Look at those, and that's the way it basically would work. Now, once you set up a control connection on port 21, every time you do a data transfer, let's say I want to get a file, then server would initiate a new connection to the client and transfer the data. So every time a data transfer required, whether uploading a file to the server or downloading file from a server or even doing a directory listing. Because when you do directory listing, we're actually getting content of a directory, but treat it as a file. So it's still getting a content. So anytime you get actual data content from the server, upload to the server, a new data connection would be maintained or initiated. Data transfer would take place on that new connection, data connection, and data transfer done, and the connection would be closed. So for each data transfer, we would set up a new data connection, and then after the file transfer, connection would be closed. For that reason, because we are setting a connection every time, and this control connection is on, because control connection tells you which file to transfer, whether to upload or download, or which is the current directory. So for session maintenance purposes, we maintain the control connection. There's only one control connection. But for each file transfer, you set up a new data connection and transfer the data. Now, because we are using two connections now, one for the control, which gives me the information like username, password, authentication, which the current directory, change the directory, or give a command which file to upload. And then we are doing another connection for actual data transfer. So whenever you use two channels to do communication, whether one channel for data and other channel for control information, the other channel is called out of band. Like for example, let's say some of you want to see me in my office and want to talk to me, discuss on a problem. Now one way is you come to my office and see if I'm there, and you start talking. If I'm not there, you say you're not there. Then so the control part is verifying whether I'm in the room or not. That you can do by coming to my office itself and check. Then you're using the same channel on which you will do data transfer to discuss. Or you can check my availability in the office by making a phone call to me, or by asking another friend to check up, or look into from the window whether I'm there. And these are not the way you will talk to me directly. So these are different connections, and that's what they call out of band, meaning you are using transfer of control information over a channel on which data transfer doesn't take place. So data channel is used only for pure data transfer, and control information is used for separate channel, and hence this control connection is called out of band and data connection is called in band connectivity. Unlike HTTP protocol, FTP server maintains the client state. That basically means it knows who the user is, username, password is authenticated. It knows which current directory user is associated with. So it maintains what the user is, where user is. But says HTTP, where server doesn't maintain the state, of course, protocol supports cookies. And by enabling cookies, a web application can maintain the state. But from web server perspective, it remains transfer is stateless. But FTP server, from protocol perspective, it knows what the user status is, whether it's still logged in, logged out. If logged in, which the directory currently looking at, but change the directory, which is the new change directory, and that part. Regarding data connection, make sure that if I'm doing a 3-file transfer, there would be 3 separate data connection established, each for one file, and connection would be closed. Now, client issues a passive open using ephemeral port. Typically, in the earlier case, all machines were trusted. There were no kind of security issues, attacks. Even clients were reachable by anybody because everybody used to get a unique IP address. So for data transfer to happen, let's say client want to get file 1. So client will become a server for the data part. Will choose some port number, let's say 5000, inform that port number to the server along with its IP address, and then server would initiate the connection to this client. They would say client issues a passive open command saying that my port number is so and so, and basically command it gives is port ABCDMMNN, where ABCD corresponds to IP address of the client and MMMNN corresponds to port number, and computed as MM into 256 plus NN, because port number is max value 65,000 or 64K. So using this, when server receives this command, it will make a TCP connection to IP address A.B.C.D, and port number computed with MM is this. And then once the connection has happened, then actual data transfer would take place. We're saying active open means for data connection, It is the server who initiates the connection. Client doesn't initiate, and that's why it is called passive open. Versus active open means the entity that connects. Passive open means the entity that listens. For the control connection, server is passive open, clients connect to it, so client is active open. For the data transfer part, client is a passive open. So each time I want to get a file, I'll upload a file, would issue a command port, new port number, pass it on, and then server would connect. But in today's world, we have firewalls, and that means no firewall would allow incoming connection. So even for data transfer, server would open a new passive open on a new port, and then client would connect. And we'll come to that in a short while. So we'll look at and what happens in a today's case, and we'll do passive open. So FTP, there are two things you'll probably notice. One is FTP as an application and FTP as a protocol. Both happen to use same name, so don't get confused. FTP is one is the protocol that happens at the protocol level. Other is the application that you as a user interacts. So when I use FTP, I run as an application. You are interacting with the application, but what this client communicates to the server, that is part of FTP protocol. The protocol uses all ASCII commands, which are human readable. Like HTTP protocol, we saw all the headers, all the HTTP methods, get, post, put, delete. These are all ASCII human readable. In fact, all the internet applications initially, they were designed so that human can read and diagnose if something goes wrong. Debugging diagnosis can be done easily. So first protocol command is called user. You pass username, then server would basically give you a response. Say give me a password, then they give you a password, and if your username password is correct, server would give you success and then say you are fine, and then you can do whatever data transfer command you like to do. So one command is list. It returns list of all the directory content of the current directory. If you want to receive a file, command is retrieve, R-E-T-R. It's a retrieve file name, and then server would insert a connection to transfer data. If you want to upload a file, command is called store, file name, and even here, FTP server would reset a connection, and client would start transferring the data. So these are the commands which are given in a book. So these are the only commands you probably see from a syllabus perspective. But protocol does support a lot of other commands, like give me current working directory, change the new working directory to something else, and those are the commands. We'll look at it in short. Like HTTP, we have status codes. HTTP status codes belong to 5 categories. Can anyone recall and tell me what are the 5 categories for HTTP protocol? Anyone like to summarize? Anyone like to say what are the 5 categories for HTTP protocol? Status codes. Pujasri, Pranav, would you like to answer? No one remembers, or no one has studied at all? Looks like you come to the class and after that you don't follow up. So it is my humble request, please do follow up unless you practice, do things yourself. Network is a course which you can experience rather than simply mugging. Mugging is not going to help you. By rote memorization is not going to help you, won't understand. All the protocols you can actually implement, you can dissect its working in the WhatsApp, see how things work, and then you can understand a lot more better. So I again request you, please analyze, look at, implement, then you'll be better off. So HTTP protocol, the 5 category was 1XX for information purposes, 2XX meaning first digit status code is 2, other gives you numbers, 2 means successful completion, 3XX means new action needed, or moved. 4 access is client side error, and 5 access is server side error. And status code are 3-digit long. Same is true for FTP. You always get 3-digit status code. First digit indicates some category indication, and then the other digits indicate the status of a command, what state you are in, and third is within the state, what really happens. So when you give a username, say username okay 331, 3 means basically authentication. Look at, one is information. When you give a password, things will work out successfully. Or if it is error, then it says something is happening. A data connection cannot work, you get an error because the firewall is not permitting or anything of that kind. And you can't write a file, then you get an error again, it gives you those kind of indications. So typically response has a 3-digit number. First digit indicates the status of the command. First digit 1 is preliminary positive reply. First digit 2 means positive completion, like if an authentication is successful after password, you will see first digit as 2. 3 is positive intermediate reply. 4 is transient negative, and 5 is transient positive, permanent negative. So when you do username requires that you are still doing intermediate part because it is not complete. Only after password it will be complete. And so after username you will see first digit as 3, but after password is successful, authentication is complete. So status code of first digit would be 2 and not 3. And then what are the values of Y and Z? Y is second digit, which indicates information about the status. 0 means about syntax. 1 corresponds to information. 2 related to connection. 3 corresponds to auth. So when you see that my username is, the status code is 331, 3 means positive intermediate because not complete. And second digit 3 is authentication. And then 4 is a specified file related to file system there. So let's look at the status code there. So username 331, 3 meanings it is positive intermediate, second 3 means it is authenticated, and once you're successful, it becomes 251, and we'll look at those values as well. How do you run? So FTP application is enabled by default in Linux machines. On Windows, it may not be there. You have to install it, download it. So connect to the IP address. It will set up a control connection, port number 21. And once you say you connect, it says you connected to the server. 2 is the positive completion reply because connection is successful. And second digit 2 is for connection. So you can map it up. Now it basically says you give a name, you give a username. It tells you, because you give a valid username, it tells you it is positive intermediate first digit. Second digit is authentication related, so you get 3. And this is related to the information part. And once you give a password, it becomes successful. First digit 2 means positive completion. 3 second digit because it related to authentication. And 0 is syntax, everything is successful. And it gives you more information what the different type is. And if you're transferring images, use the image mode or binary mode. If you're transferring text file, use the type as text or ASCII so that it can take care of CRLF conversion if it needs to. Once FTP is worked, you say pwd connect, it works out, home directory, whatever it is, and things should work. ls is ls command, list command, and you can get file or whatever. So I can show you those use of FTP commands. So let me just log in and so put is upload a file, get is get the file, mget get multiple files, and mput is put multiple files. So let me see if I can show you running. Let me go to my terminal. I'm running my FTP server on my local Ubuntu machine. So I'll connect. I'll say FTP 10.211.55.10. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have FTP. Let me log into another machine. I can say FTP. It connects. I say username dummy. Look at the status code 331. Password for me is dummy again. I'm successful. Now all this I'm giving a command for FTP application. These are not the FTP protocol commands. I'll show you how the protocol command works. Either you can run Wireshark to see, or you can look at the log, server log, and then see that. So you can see this is the directory. So if I say get ocr trial.py, it says opening port command successful. It only giving information. Or if you want to look at the help, you can say help. Command mode, say verbose mode off, verbose mode on, you get the details. If you want to get, so let's say I want to get files with Q, I can say mget Q star. So first you get me class file, then Java file. Say yes, it transferred the file. So these are what is called FTP protocol, not FTP protocol commands, FTP application command. If you want to look at FTP protocol command, there's a free software available called FileZilla. It's available for Windows, Linux, Mac. You can run it, set it up, and now I'll try to set up a connection. I would say my connection is my machine, IP address is this, port number by default is 21, and I'm saying normal dummy. I'll also let me say command I would like to hear. Edit, settings, so that we can see the command. I'll go to debug mode. Let's say information. Okay. And I can see a view log there. Now I'll say connect. You see what is happening now. First command goes username dummy, you can see clear text, and then say password. So this capital user or pass are the actual command. Feature asks me what are the features available, and then it basically gives you other commands. PWD is print working directory. So let's say I change the directory to download. So if I issue a command here, double click on download, it basically says CWD download. CWD means change working directory. Directory change, this is control level command, and then PWD. Now first make sure that I'm not behind a firewall. I'll work that way. So let me do edit settings. I'll say active mode. 1 minute. Let me disconnect it. Set up my connection again. Edit settings. This is fine. I can say transfer settings. I can say active. And I should be okay. Let's connect it. Let me go to download, there's nothing there. Now if I, let's say, transfer some file, let's say I transfer file called data.csv. Now see what is happening. You're issuing a command, port is working in that mode. Port number server is saying this, 10.255.2. This is my IP address of my machine where I'm running Mac, and Linux is where I'm running the FTP server is 10. So client is issuing command that please connect 10.211.55.2 and port number is 238 multiplied by 256 plus 26. But if I were to work, say assuming I'm behind a firewall, then we need to set up the passive mode. So let me set up transfer setting as passive, and transfer setting is passive. So next time I should connect, and we will use command using passive. Let me disconnect it, connect again, connected. Now if I transfer a file, let's say picture.html. Now see, client is issuing command passive, is basically indicating I'm behind a firewall. So server would give a port command saying, please connect me on this IP address 10.211.55.10, and port number is 19 to 256 plus 120. And then client is connecting to this, and then data transfer takes place. And you see a file has taken place. Now if you do a refresh, you'll see a list of current directory. You see a list. So these are the commands you use. So these are the protocol level commands, and what we showed you here as the application level commands. So both are available. So those who want to install either Linux available or install FileZilla. For a file server, you can install called WSFTPD, a WSFTP server, and this will basically give set up a server, and you can practice and play with FTP protocol and FTP commands. Receive it and get and quit, and you are done. These are the basic set of commands that are available, which you can look at. They are the FTP application commands and not the protocol commands. Protocol commands we have seen that user, pass, list, retrieve, store, we have seen all those. So for uploading and downloading, I can show you still my FileZilla. You look at the log, there will be retrieve and store somewhere. List, I would see store means upload a file, retrieve means get a file. So if I were to get a file, let's say bbmp.txt, you'll get a call retrieve, and there's a retrieve command. So these are the commands you will see when you use up things. So if you are behind a firewall, which typically the case today, so by default today client always use passive mode. Passive mode means data connection is also initiated by client and not by the server. In response to passive, server responds with IP address and port number to which client connects, and then things can work out. And after data transfer takes place, the connection is closed. You can mimic using telnet or NC at the raw level. For example, I can at the raw level work with I can use NC. I'm setting the control connection. I would say user. You see my current directory, if I say cwd tmp and pwd, so this is the raw level command. In fact, benefit of being ASCII level commands is you can use NC or telnet to mimic. I can use NC even to access the web server, as long as I can give a user, I can give a URL and all the required HTTP headers, and it would work beautifully fine as well. So you can play with it, learn it, use it, and you should be fine. So the different
Sir,
commands.
can you show?
Go ahead, please. Yeah, question.
Sir, can you show how did you set up that FTP server?
It is a Linux machine, so by default you enable it, and I can give you instructions there. So if you look at it, just search enabling FTP on Linux, and there's a 2-minute job, run some iNetD service, and it will come out.
Okay, sir.
Okay. But those who are having Windows, I would say download what is called WSFTP. Let me say what I'm saying. See if I can search. Let me Google it out. You see WSFTP server. You can download it, and then WSFTP server, and then tells you available on Windows, Linux, everywhere. So this becomes a server. And for client, you can run called FileZilla. Even FileDrive seems to have a server, so you can use FTP solution. So both client and server you can work, play, and that will work fine. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. And that way you work out. Now places where most of the time people, let's say I'm distributing my software and I don't need any authentications, then used to be a mode called anonymous FTP. That means I don't need user real authentication, but for tracking purposes, I would like some name and email as the password, just for tracking purposes to update. So you can give anything and that will still work fine. You can set up anonymous FTP server, then you don't need username, password. You can pass any username, any password, it will still work fine. This is for free service, that but you cannot upload it. TFTP is version called of FTP is called trivial FTP. That is primarily used for a diskless workstation in a network where you have thin clients, where the workstation don't have a hard disk, with the kind of storage software, not even an OS. So at the boot time, they'll contact a server, get the whole OS amount on the network, and since the local network there's no errors there, and UDP is faster, so they use UDP. So TFTP uses UDP, whereas FTP uses TCP. FTP by itself is not secure because password, username, everything goes in clear text. And today's world, so initial stages, if you look at all internet protocols, there was no security. It was academia world, and security was not the concern. The moment net became commercial, security became paramount. So everything has to be secure. So today, when if you have to use, you don't use FTP per se, but use secure FTP or called SCP. You can use SFTP or secure SCP to transfer a file, which is a layer on top of SSH protocol. Uses port number 22. Like SSH is due to secure login, Telnet is an insecure login. SCP you can transfer a file. The SFTP is again secure. So even if you do a file transfer, you will use secure and not insecure. So both the tools I gave you, WSFTP and FileZilla, they support both secure and unsecure. You can actually set up whether it is secure or unsecure. I can tell you the connectivity here. It says normal or what is called ask for a password, which is fine. No, plain, or you want to use over TLS, that means security. So you decide how do you really want to set it up. For command level, I'm showing this, but in real life, you will not find any internet server today which will be running FTP without SSH or with insecure. But since a part of the course you need to study, so I'm basically covering that to understand the way FTP has evolved. There are different variations. You can transfer without authentication. You can do one-time key setup, login that like you might have seen me in my machine. From my machine, I log into Linux machine and doesn't ask me username password because I set up my keys. So this key extends automatically and does a username passwordless login. But if I change my keys or keys file are removed, then ask me to set it up again. Or if I do different user, then it's going to ask me username password. If I were to say, let's say SSH, or even that I have set it up, sorry, looks like. And I was asking a password. So if keys are not set up, it will ask me the password. Otherwise, you can do a setup, what is called username passwordless login, and that can also be done by SSH. All you need to do is generate a public private key by using SSH keys and then transfer file, those authentication files, and then it will work basically seamless login and seamless transfer. Differences with HTTP, primarily FTP uses two connections, control and data, whereas HTTP uses single connection file transfer. HTTP does not maintain a state. FTP server does maintain a state. So these are the differences. Similarities, both use clear text command in ASCII and both use 3-digit status code in reply. So their similarities and dissimilarity Of course, HTTP, you get to know content type through content, where FTP to specify whether type is binary or text, you specify that, and that's the way it works. So that's end to the FTP protocol. To summarize, it was the two channels: control channel, which is out of band, data channel, which is in band, and then for firewall, if client is behind a firewall, you have to use passive mode so that the client can connect to the server. In a non-passive mode, the server basically would connect to the client. So I would say set up FTP server, have a client, play with it, and understand how FTP protocol works. Any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'm done for this. Thank you. And next class, I'll let you know timings. The culture will know timings are changed for next week, and we'll probably update you in an email what the timings are. If no questions, then you can drop out. Thank you. Or send me question email. I'll answer over email as well.